Yeah, I think I'm looking for a big, rangy wing who can shoot a little bit, maybe create some offense for himself, play defense, of course. Yep, it's exactly what I'm looking for. Same. Yep, same here. Really? Yep. Just traded for Denny Avdia, matter of fact. You? Well, that's a bit of a shocker right there. No, I was not expecting that at all. You know, I'm actually thinking about making another play for Mikal Bridges. Might get back into that market. I would like that for you. I could see that. Whoa! What the hell? What's up? You traded 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges. Yeah, I did. 5 first-round picks. You've ruined the market for all of us. What are you mad at me for? It's not my fault you couldn't afford them. Brokey. Well, great, guys. What am I supposed to do? I got $60 million in cap space. There's nobody to spend it on. I don't know, Philly. Why don't you bring back Tobias Harris? What are you laughing about, Phoenix? Huh? Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody how many first-round picks you have to trade this year, huh? Yeah, go ahead. Tell everyone. Let everyone know. 0. Oh, Bradley Beal. Look, Brokies, there's plenty of budget options available for you, okay? You could go after Kyle Kuzma if you want to. I saw a report that Kevin Durant was made available. No, that's not true. I think, hopefully. I don't know, actually. I have no idea. What about Jerami Grant, huh? Big, lengthy wing, can catch and shoot, great offense for himself, good team defender. I could be talked into Jerami Grant. I could be talked into that. I could do Jerami Grant, I think. I agree. Jerami Grant is cool with me. That's cool. Yeah, we could do that. All right. I don't belong in this conversation. Hey, guys, he's on my roster, actually. I don't really want to trade him, so I consent. I don't consent. I don't. Jerami Grant. Jerami Grant. No. Jeremy Spoker. No. Don't sing that song. Jeremy Spoker. All right, folks, the NBA offseason is heating up. We've had a slew of trades already. Free agency is right around the corner, at least as of the time I'm recording this. And as of the time I'm recording this, Jerami Grant is still a Portland Trailblazer, but I don't know how much longer that's going to be. The Trailblazers made what I thought was kind of a shocking addition, trading for Denny Avdia a day before the draft, a trade that I actually like quite a bit for them. A young player in Denny Avdia who had a really, really great season, a chance to develop. I don't really get it from Washington's side, but this now opens up the door for a possible Jerami Grant trade. I think Jerami Grant is a player who could most certainly move the needle for a handful of contending teams out there. Of course, we are living in a modern NBA where these versatile sort of do-it-all wings are just incredibly valuable. That's why Jerami Grant signed a 5-year, $160 million contract last offseason. And this contract is a big reason why his value might not be as high as somebody like Mikal Bridges, who just went for 5 first-round picks. Of course, Mikal Bridges is younger than Jerami Grant. Mikal Bridges is better than Jerami Grant. Mikal Bridges plays every single game. One of the big concerns you would have trading for a guy like Jerami Grant is the fact that he hasn't played over 70 games since the 2020 season. But what would you be getting whenever Jerami Grant is on the floor? First and foremost, you're getting a versatile offensive threat who, as the 3rd or 4th option, can thrive and can really unlock things for whatever team trades for him. He was one of the best catch-and-shoot three-point shooters this past season, which is, I think, a pretty remarkable stat considering the state of the Portland Trailblazers and just the lack of playmaking options that they have on their roster currently. Among 69 players who shot 4 or more catch-and-shoot threes a game, Jerami Grant was 16th in catch-and-shoot percentage, 41% on catch-and-shoot threes, 46% on corner threes, which was 3rd best among players with 2 corner three-point attempts per game or more. According to Basketball Index, he was in the 86th percentile when it came to off-screen shooting, and he was one of only 6 players in the NBA to average over 2 off-screen possessions per game. His catch and shoot game is pretty versatile. He can relocate. Didn't do it very often, but there was some pick and pop stuff that he did at times with Portland. He can pull up in transition. He has the beautiful no dip 3, which I think is one of the best threes, one of the best looking threes you could possibly have. One of the best looking shots really in the entire game of basketball, if we're just being honest. A player with a quick release, and with the size that he has, he can shoot over tough contests and closeouts.
Right, I'd say that's an issue.
The best shot I ever saw at the end of the floor was Blake Hoffarber hit a shot in the state tournament seated in front of the Timberwolves bench.
Ooh. On the inbounds, Walker handles, giving to Sharp. Sharp off the high screen, over to Grant. Catch, shoot, 3 up, got it! Count the bucket, and a whistle.
Because there's so many times where you just need him to run, to distract the defense, get them off balance. We're not going to go down to you. We're going to JG with the hot hand. Big man, keep running. We need you.
From Brockton.
Grant catch and shoot again.
That shot, when I say tough, 22nd defense. Simons pitches over here to Kamara. Off into the corner to Grant. He'll square, fire, and hit. Jerami Grant. Scoot on the push. Sees two defenders immediately. Diagonals one over to Grant. No dip on that one, Lamar. Simon scoots off that double screen into the paint. Over here to Shea, trying to avoid Looney. Cross court, catch, shoot, three, up and in. Grant with a triple.
It's really been the defense of the Jazz that have helped them with balanced scoring. Grant hits another three.
And for Zubac's even as finely tuned as he is, boy, that's asking a lot. Oh, great stuff, though. Thanks, Tom. Appreciate that.
The quickness, and then his quickness to athleticism to be able to finish over taller defenders.
Jerami Grant tries for three and hits.
It's only the 7 3-point shot attempt for the Suns, so numbers way down from what we saw over the weekend. Grant gets the screen, fires the three, and hits it.
Offense, and like I said before, be able to get 2 stops in a row, 3 stops in a row, and get out there and get in transition. So they played really well in this first half thus far.
Big time three right there from Jerami Grant.
Kamara off the rebound, lost it into the arms of Henderson.
And the big fella Reed is shooting 35% from 3.
Yep, and Grant now hits a 3.
Trying to work underneath, he gets doubled, he shoots, he can't score, and the Blazers have the rebound yet again. And here they come on a mini break. It's Walker, kick it, Grant for 3, got it, rattles it in.
But that's not all Jerami Grant can do offensively. I mean, the big perk in trading for a guy like this is the self-creation potential that he does have. For example, he attempted 5.5 mid-range shots per 75 possessions this last year. Only 42% of those shots were assisted. Since he departed Denver a few years ago for Detroit in an effort to have more of a responsibility within the offense, we've seen his isolation possessions per game skyrocket. This was a guy who, as a role player with the Thunder and with the Nuggets, didn't get too many one-on-one on-ball creation opportunities. And since he went to Detroit and then Portland, we've seen those chances increase dramatically. I mean, he nearly had 3 isolation attempts per game for Portland this season. Before going to Detroit, he never averaged more than 1. Now, of course, there's a bit of a downside here. Just because Jerami Grant does isolate a lot doesn't necessarily mean he's great at it. In fact, he's one of the worst volume isolation players in the NBA just by efficiency standards. 0.72 points per possession in isolation this year. That put him in the 22nd percentile, which was the worst among 46 players in the NBA with 2 or more isolation attempts per game. And you can see this when you watch him play. He oftentimes can settle for some very, very difficult shots, especially in the mid-range. However, I don't know how much of this I want to blame on him or how much of a stain this should be on him as a player. Let's not forget his situation here. He was traded to Portland with the idea that he would be the running mate alongside Damian Lillard and eventually Anthony Simons, assuming that he continued to develop as a player. Fast forward a year, Damian Lillard's gone. Anthony Simons in and out of the lineup due to injuries and not very good. Shaedon Sharpe didn't really take that step forward that the Blazers were looking for, and then he got hurt. And now Jerami Grant is asked to be the main guy offensively. It was hilarious going back and watching some Jerami Grant film. He's getting like the toughest defenders on each and every team. Jaden McDaniels would pick him up. Herb Jones would pick him up. That's kind of a nightmare for a player who isn't that efficient of an isolation player to begin with, and now he's tasked with creating offense against some of the best defenders the world has to offer. This is also apparent whenever you look at the driving numbers. On one hand, he's very good at getting to the rim, and he's good at creating shots for himself at the rim, which is a very important skill set for a creator to have. He was one of only 58 players in the league this season to average 10 drives per game. However, he shot 43% on these drives, which was the 3rd worst among these 48 players, trailing only Fred VanVleet, who is statistically one of the worst finishers we've seen in quite some time, and Scoot Henderson, who was a rookie and really struggled at times in his rookie season. But again, the ability to create shots for himself at the rim is something that's encouraging. Only 45% of his shots at the rim were assisted. That's a very low number. And because of that, Basketball Index has him in the 90th percentile when it comes to rim shot creation and in the 96th percentile when it comes to rim finishing. So despite some poor efficiency numbers, his ability to put pressure on the rim is a valuable asset to have in an offense. And again, we're talking about a guy who was forced to be the number 1 option this past season and who has been the number 1 option on the teams that he's been on outside of the one Damian Lillard year, for better or for worse, over the last 4 seasons. If a contender were to trade for Jerami Grant, obviously the context in which he's playing in will be much different. Like, for example, if the Dallas Mavericks were to swing a trade for Jerami Grant, he becomes a 3rd on-ball creator and somebody who can play off of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving's playmaking that's something that I think would go very, very well for him. If the Kings were to swing a trade for him, he's somebody who could operate dribble handoffs with Domantas Sabonis and feed off of the spacing that some of their other shooters provide and provide spacing, much needed spacing for the Kings team by himself. If the Sixers were to trade for him, he's somebody who could play off of Joel Embiid's gravity and give just another solid exit valve for Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, really who they were kind of hoping Tobias Harris to be. That is the context in which a player like Jerami Grant will thrive in. He no longer needs to be the number one option or even number two option on a team. Any team that would be trading for him with the idea that maybe he can be our number two guy, they're probably going to be a little bit disappointed, and I'm not even sure which teams are out there that would even want that necessarily. So offensively, I think he could be a huge needle mover for a team. But what about defensively? This is some of the more intriguing stuff. I think that there's some misconceptions about Jerami Grant defensively and some of the stuff that he might provide. First and foremost, Jerami Grant is a great shot blocker for a forward. He's a great help defender. I mean, it is pretty remarkable to watch. If he goes to a good team and plays alongside a good defensive center, it's going to be very difficult for opposing teams to score at the rim. He uses his length well. His timing, blocking shots is pretty impressive. So in a team defensive setting, I think Jerami Grant could fit in like a glove with pretty much any team you want. Now, the problem is, Jerami Grant is not a great point of attack defender. He can hold his own against wings and other forwards, but quick, shifty guards are going to give him problems. Big, strong players who use their shoulders and their strength to bump guys and get space for themselves can give Jerami Grant some problems. I mean, these are elite scorers who give everybody problems, to be fair, but I'm thinking about it from like the Dallas Mavericks perspective, where assuming you trade for Jerami Grant, he'll plug into your starting lineup, probably kick Derrick Jones Jr. out of the starting lineup. You now have a question with who's handling the point of attack defense, because I don't think that's who Jerami Grant is as a player. So if a team is looking to trade for him to be this do-it-all wing who can score offensively and maybe handle some point of attack duties, that's probably not the best scenario for him, honestly, defensively at least. It's not to say he'll tank a defense. Again, I think he's a great team defender. And in this Mavericks setting where, hey, we're just going to throw a bunch of big guys on the court and make it really, really hard for you to drive and have hands and body parts everywhere, he fits in pretty well in that scheme. But there's point of attack questions that arise when you plug him into the starting lineup. A team that already has a strong point of attack defender and Jerami Grant can handle the second options or just be more of a help defender, then that is a great situation for him. You also have rebounding problems. Jerami Grant is a terrible rebounder. Full stop. Horrible. Like inexcusably bad for his size. And trying to go back and watch him stuff, I think a lot of it is effort. I just don't think that he pays attention to detail on rebounds very often. Doesn't put a body on his guy, lets his guy slip behind him way too often. And, you know, he's 30 years old, so this is just probably who he is as a player. But I might throw him some bail and just say it's hard to stay super locked in all the time in every facet of the game when the teams that you're playing on are constantly shit. And I guess that's another concern point for Jerami Grant is that he has not been on a good team in a very long time. Since the 2019-2020 season when he was on the Nuggets, he has spent pretty much the entirety of his prime on horrible teams. Like not bad teams, horribly bad teams in Detroit and Portland. Is there some bad habits that he developed? Maybe. He's going to have to take a step back offensively whenever he goes to a new team. That much is certain. But if he were to commit to that, if he were to be comfortable taking a step back, then he could be a great third option or even fourth option for teams that have a luxury there. And I definitely think he could be a needle mover for a handful of contending teams out there or teams that are hopeful to contend. The Mavericks, obviously, their starting five with Jerami Grant in it offensively sounds disgusting to me. And if you can figure out a way to address some point of attack concerns, that could be a very, very dangerous team, a team that just made the NBA Finals. The Sacramento Kings having another scoring option like this alongside Sabonis and Fox and Keegan Murray would unlock a lot of things offensively, a lot of spacing concerns that they've had. You can solve those problems with a guy like Jerami Grant. I even think Philly, who's probably hoping for a little bit more with their cap space, Jerami Grant, who did spend some time in Philadelphia, obviously, I think Jerami Grant fits in really well alongside Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Again, somebody who they kind of hoped Tobias Harris would be. Houston could make some sense to me. They're in the market for a forward who can do some things. Jerami Grant makes some sense there. I think he'd be a great 4 next to Bam Adebayo, but I don't know how Miami could swing that. Basically, any contending team with the means to acquire Jerami Grant should be looking into doing it. I don't even think his contract is that scary, to be honest with you. As scary as I initially thought it was, at least. The years portion of it makes it a little bit scary since it was 5 years, but you're looking at $30 million this year, $32 the next year, $34, then $36 player option. With the cap going up and stuff, that's really not that bad unless you expect him to completely and totally fall off of a cliff. I'm not sure where Jerami Grant will end up. I'm not even positive he's going to get traded, but if he does, the team that trades for him should be pretty excited because he's going to unlock quite a bit of things for your team offensively, assuming he's in that third or fourth role like I mentioned earlier. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Jerami Spoker.